and gentlemen, boys and girls, ships at sea, it is time for another episode of Property of the Week for PropertyLens. As always, my name, Bob Frady, co-founder and CEO of PropertyLens. With me,
John Siegman, co-founder and president of PropertyLens.
So here's what we do. We pick a location, whatever crosses our fancy. We run a PropertyLens report and we tell you what we see. Sometimes we see bad stuff, sometimes we see good stuff, sometimes it's in between. But we tell you what PropertyLens tells you. And then you make your own decisions. You buy the house you love, but at least you know what you're getting yourself into. So John, this week we have a lovely, lovely home in Sudbury, Massachusetts with a very interesting twist. Let's get to it, shall we?
Let's.
You go into PropertyLens, you get a PropertyLens report, you pay, all that good stuff, and then you'll see this screen. It'll have a picture of the house, yada, yada, yada. We skip all that part and get to the good stuff. We're looking at 54 Stone Road in Sudbury, Massachusetts. 3 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, 1,400 square feet, according to the assessor. And we pulled this report just today.
What we see is that the estimated repair cost is like nothing. That's pocket change. Stuff must be new.
That is excellent news. Look at this. Everything. New. And the roof says it's 7 years old, which is interesting. But let's see why that's the case. So that's cheap. That's great. You know, normally when you have a house, there's always some sort of repair. And not to say that these systems won't fail, but what we're saying is that these systems are youthful against a relatively long lifespan, so they shouldn't fail. All systems fail at some point, but these look pretty good. All right. What are some of the key findings that we have?
Well, you know, it's at high risk for toxic exposure, which could be PFAS, could be mold, could be, you know, a number of different things. In this case, it is PFAS. It's also radon. And this house has a basement. So radon, definitely want to check for that. PFAS, you want to have the water tested because they may be around. But, you know, I think overall, you know, let's check for radon and check for the PFAS.
Yep. Question point number 1. And this pays for like a dozen different PropertyLens reports. Get a radon test. Radon is a naturally occurring gas. You can't smell it. It doesn't light on fire, but it does give you cancer if you're around it long enough. So get a radon test before you buy the house. It's a simple venting process, but you got to make sure there's a system in place. Here's something interesting. When you look at the picture on this location, and we'll see the pictures a little bit later, it looks brand new, but this property is actually 65 years old.
It's older than us.
Now, everything is new. The property appears to have been purchased and resold in less than a year and a half, which to us may indicate a flip. Now, John, let's talk about flips for a second. What are the pros and cons of a flip?
Pros, everything's new. Or almost everything's new. And you know, somebody's gone in, they've made it, you know, in this case, as we saw, all the systems are new. I mean, it is new. Downside is that a lot of times, not a lot of times, there are great flippers out there that put a lot of effort and make everything perfect. But as with anything, there are a few flippers that aren't so great. And it's really hard to tell if you've got a great one or a not so great one, because most people aren't skilled in the trades. So, you know, at times it becomes something that's a little bit harder to ensure because, you know, there's a lot of question about the work. Did they pull the right permits? There's all sorts of stuff that's got to be answered.
Listen, the house looks lovely. We're casting no aspersions about this, but this may be a flip, and flips require extra attention. You get wowed by all the prettiness of the house, but sometimes, like, you know, beautiful people, they come with issues. They might be just out of surgery, but there's still issues. So this house looks like it might be a flip or a complete renovation, maybe possibly even a tear down. So we give you a bunch of different questions to ask. When was all this stuff done? Confirm the seller that it's been renovation. Were the permits pulled? Was it done to a licensed contractor? The bedrooms and bathrooms don't match the tax assessment. So, you've got a lot of issues in here that you don't necessarily see when you walk up and go, wow, this place is beautiful. So, but the house was built earlier and it looks like everything's in great condition. This house looks spectacular. Still got to check though. From an insurance standpoint, looks pretty insurable. Nothing too bad around here. Between $840 and $1,700 to replace it, but that's based on the old square footage. It might cost more with the new square footage because this shows 1,400 square feet. That house is a little bit bigger than 1,400 square feet.
Or a lot of bit bigger.
Yeah, a lot of bit bigger. So it's, let's see, it was built in 1960 originally and looks like it was completely renovated last year. Let's see if there's anything in the description. It's a stunning new contemporary. Now it's 5 bathrooms.
4 bedrooms.
Room for 3 bedrooms on the second floor. Laundry hookups on the second floor, which will cost you when it comes to insurance, and a garage. So the list price is $2.2 million. It was last sold in 2023 for $640,000. So yeah, it's a flip. It was sold in October of 2023, listed a year later for $2.2 million, and it's come down a whole $3,000 since then.
Yeah, bargain pricing.
$2,100. It is, listen, again, casting no aspersions about this house. It aggravates the crap out of your neighbor because all it does is potentially drive their taxes up. But that said, it's a flip, and it's a pretty steep difference in prices. So you won't look around and say, hey, are there other houses that have been flipped? Are you going to have the most expensive house on the street? That's something to consider.
It's a beautiful house.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah. Property values have gone up. Those values are going to go up again. So, taxes do rise on a regular basis here. You can see that even with the same house from 2015 to 2020, the taxes went up almost 40%. So it went up pretty significantly. And then you get the pictures and it's like, holy cow, this place is beautiful. So the workmanship looks great. It looks fantastic. What a beautiful home.
They always look good in pictures.
Oh, listen, I wouldn't be the first one to fall prey to a good-looking face, that's for sure. So, damaging events, not too bad. We got a little hail here back in 2015. Was a little bit more severe than usual. And another hailstorm in 2020. And the prior owner wouldn't know about either one of these because they didn't own the house that long ago. Oh, look at this. You can see that in April, what are they doing?
They're building a house.
They're building a house. So, and then if we go back even further to 2023, there's the house. There's the old house. There's a new house.
That's a completely different roof.
Yep. So now what's interesting about this is it is a different roof, and this roof age is a little bit incorrect, and that we say it's 7 years old. It's probably newer than that because, and we'll see why shortly. But it's got plenty of life left in it. It's a shingle roof. If you did after replacement, it's about $20,000 to replace this roof. It's in really good condition. It's got medium exposure. No staining, no algae, all sorts of, it's about a 2,500 square foot roof. Good drainage on the soil. A little bit of termite risk in this area. Termites is wood construction, but otherwise, it's great. Soils are good. Soft water, which is nice. Here's what we see. We go to permit history. Building permits are required in Sudbury, Mass. The first thing we tell you is what the requirement is. The second is, well, you want more information. There you go. This is why we think the roof is 7 years old, is because this house was re-roofed in 2018. And guess what? But what don't you see here?
I don't see any of the permits for all of the stuff that's been done.
Exactly. Exactly. No building permits for this stuff. So this is a red flag. The house looks beautiful, and there may be permits, and for some reason they just got mixed up, whatever, maybe the address, who knows? Anything could have happened. But the first thing you have to do is to make sure that all that work was permitted. And if it wasn't permitted, have the city inspected to make sure that it's up to code. It's
Yep.
just, there's no permits here. I mean, we have permits for this location, no permits for this all new renovation stuff. And why don't flippers get permits, John?
Well, permits cost money.
And
And money, the more you spend, the less profit there is on the house. So,
and permits take time.
and they take time. It slows down the process. It is not quick.
Yep. So luckily, no flood risk here.
None.
Great. You're a ways from the nearest 100-year flood zone. No lomas and lomers. Mild climate. Is New England. You get some hurricane risk, but it happens every 10, 20 years. And a little bit of winter weather because it's New England. Sudbury's a little closer to the coast, but, it's still New England. And just benign from a climate standpoint. Very low crime. Great, for kids. No crime, no sex offenders within half a mile. Quality of life. That's great. Sudbury, great preparation for natural disasters. It's quiet. It's not walkable. You're not going to be walking to the store from here, and there's no public transit in this general vicinity. And you can see it as, it's nice. It's a little nice Sudbury horse country there. Here's a different EV charging stations. There's schools, food facilities. There's an airport, a little one, not too far away. And Framingham State University is about 5 miles away. So if your kid wants to go there, it's commutable. Toxic exposure. PFAS. What does PFAS stand for, John?
Polyfluoroalkylides. It's the forever chemical.
The forever chemical. You know why it's called the forever chemical?
Because it stays forever.
There you go. Form follows function. Hangs around forever. Radon risk is high at this location. Absolutely get a radon test for this house. You've got some contaminated sites down the street. Underground storage tank at the fire department. Ironically enough, that's where they put the gas. So you can see where all the different things are. Let's see. The nearest Superfund site is on Hudson Avenue. No leaking underground storage tanks. No formerly clandestine drug labs, which is nice. Health and safety looks pretty good. Let's see. We don't have any hydrants within 250 feet of this house, which is interesting. There are some within 1,000 feet. And there are 3 fire stations within 5 miles.
Well, you're out in the country. That's not too surprising.
You're out there a bit. The fire stations are close by. Here they are. Estimated utility costs are about $180 a month, but that's based on the old square footage of the house, not the new square footage of the house. And carbon footprint of the utility, insurability looks pretty good. There's a little bit of hurricane risk, so you might have a wind deductible, but you can talk to your local insurance agent about that. Or you can go down here and you can click in here and get a quote. There's a couple of different places that think this is an older house than it actually is. And here's all the details. So, a wonderful looking home. Wonderful. So, John, let's say that you were looking at purchasing 54 Stone Road in Sudbury, Mass. What are the 3 things that PropertyLens has showed you that you might not otherwise know?
Permits or lack thereof, and the fact that it's a flip.
Yep.
This is changing hands. This was not bought previously to be lived in. This was bought to make money, which is perfectly fine. Welcome to capitalism. But I want to know, where permits pull. And if not, what does that mean if I buy this house? Because if the next person says, well, where's all the permits? And then the city comes and says, this was unpermitted work and you got to rip it all out. That's a bad experience.
Yep.
So permits. Back to flip. I want to have an independent inspector look at all the quality of the work. Not saying that there's anything wrong with the quality of the work. Probably great, looks great. But I want somebody with independent eyes to take a look. Let's make sure that all the electrical was done right, all the plumbing was done right, all the roofing was done right. HVAC systems were installed correctly, all that good stuff. So that's, high on my list. Radon, it's got a basement. Radon, number one cause of cancer, number two cause of cancer for lung cancer behind smoking. I don't think taking up smoking is on anybody's list of things to do. But getting lung cancer secondhand from your house, probably a bad thing. So, I want to make sure that they're, what the radon test said. And if it comes back high, then, we're going to negotiate putting in a mitigation system. So that's, number 2 on my list. Number 3 on my list is making sure that everything gets lined up. Because, if somebody comes and they say, well, here's your taxes and it's based on this, and then all of a sudden it's not, you're going to have other issues. So you want to make sure that everything lines up between what the city has on the house, what you have on the house, just to make sure that everybody knows everything that's taking place. That's what I'd be looking at. What about you?
If I were looking at 54 Stone Road in Sudbury, Massachusetts, I would be looking at the following 3 things. Number 1, where are the building permits? This is a massive renovation. The value of the house has gone up almost 4x. 4x. Yet, I don't see any permits. Now, they may have been filed. We just don't see them. So that's the first thing that I would ask about. Number 2, I would look at the radon. I would get a radon test for this house. It's not part of a standard test. Some agents will do it as part of listing a house. It's not part of a standard test. Make sure you get it done. If it comes back elevated, then put a mitigation system in before you buy this house. And then number 3, I would look at the tax implication of this house. Taxes are going to be higher at some point. Taxes have gone up a lot, 40% over 5 years, 6 years in Sudbury, the prior 6 years before the house was sold. They're going to reassess you, and there's going to be a big old whack to your bill. So what are the tax implications of buying this house that has increased so dramatically in value over time? Number 1, where are the permits? Number 2, radon. Number 3, what about then taxes? Because those taxes are going to keep going up. Last time a municipality has reduced taxes, I think I still had dark hair last time that happened. But otherwise, it looks beautiful. It's like, geez, this is nice.
Beautiful house.
Don't get blown away by the beauty. Of all the regrettable things in the name of beauty. Don't let it happen to you. Make sure you know what's going on in that house.
Yeah.
So that's what I would see.
The personality matches its looks.
This house, yeah, does the personality match the looks of this house? And right now the jury's out. So let's bring that jury in by asking the seller's agent the pointed questions that we have inside of the PropertyLens report, so you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. All right, anything else, John?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, for this week's episode of Property of the Week with PropertyLens, I'm Bob Frady.
I'm John Siegman.
Until next time. Oh, yeah, by the way, click the subscribe button. It makes us feel better. Later.